Let me tell you about the night when Lagos itself became angry. This is not a story from long ago. This happened in our time, when the city was tired of wicked people who stole from hardworking traders. The Iron Wolves were the most feared gang in all of Lagos. They had 7 members, and their leader was a man called Razor. He got this name because he was sharp with his knife and sharp with his cruelty. His eyes were cold like a dead fish. Every full moon, the Iron Wolves would strike. They knew which markets were busy. They knew which traders carried the most money. They moved like shadows and disappeared like smoke. The police knew about them. The traders feared them. Even strong men would shake when they heard the sound of their motorcycles coming near. But here is what made the Iron Wolves different from other thieves. They did not just take money. They enjoyed fear. Razor would laugh when old women cried. His men would push down anyone who tried to stop them. They treated people like insects to be stepped on. The people of Lagos prayed for help. Mothers asked God to protect their children. Traders begged for peace. But the Iron Wolves only grew bolder. "Lagos is ours," Razor would boast. "We take what we want when we want it." He did not know that every city has a spirit. He did not know that Lagos was listening. He did not know that patience, even in a city, has an end. This is the story of what happened when that end finally came. It was a Thursday night in October. The Balogun market had stayed open late because it was the week before a big festival. Traders were selling fabrics, shoes, and jewelry. Children ran between the stalls while their mothers bargained for the best prices. The air smelled of suya and fried plantain. Radios played music. People laughed and shouted friendly insults at each other. This is how Lagos sounds when it is happy. Nobody noticed the 7 motorcycles parking in the dark corner near the old transformer. Razor looked at his watch. 10 o'clock. Perfect timing. The market would still be full, but most people would be tired from the long day. Tired people do not fight back. He turned to his gang. "Remember the plan. 3 minutes, no more. Take everything you can carry. If anyone tries to stop you, show them what the Iron Wolves do to brave fools." His men nodded. They had done this many times before. They knew the routine. Snake, the youngest member, asked a question. "Boss, which way do we escape?" Razor smiled his cold smile. "Through the old bush path. I found it last week. Nobody uses it anymore. Too many trees, too dark. But for us, it is perfect. The police will search the main roads while we count our money in peace." The other gang members grinned. This was going to be easy money. At exactly 10:15, the Iron Wolves struck. The attack was fast and brutal. Razor burst into the market first, waving his knife in the air.
Down.
"Everyone down! This is the Iron Wolves! Give us your money and nobody gets hurt!" His men followed, knocking over stalls and grabbing bags. Women screamed, children cried. Men tried to protect their goods, but were pushed aside. Mama Ngozi, who sold fabrics, tried to hide her money box under her wrapper. Snake saw her and snatched it from her hands. She fell to the ground, hitting her head on the concrete. "Please," she begged. "That is my children's school fees." Snake just laughed and kicked over her stall. Brother Emeka, a phone seller, tried to stop them. Razor punched him in the stomach. When Emeka fell, he took his watch too. "Thank you for the gift," he mocked. In 3 minutes, they had bags full of money, phones, and jewelry. They had left behind tears, broken stalls, and bleeding people. As they ran back to their motorcycles, Razor shouted, "Remember this night! The Iron Wolves own Lagos!" The engines roared to life. They sped away from the market, heading toward the old bush path. Behind them, traders were calling the police and crying over their losses. But ahead of them, something was waiting. Something old. Something patient. Something that had finally had enough. The bush path started normally. The motorcycles bounced over the rough ground, their headlights cutting through the darkness. The gang members whooped with joy, celebrating another successful robbery. "Did you see their faces?" Snake laughed. "That old woman begged like a baby." The others joined in the laughter. Razor felt the heavy bags of stolen goods pressing against his back. He calculated in his head this was their biggest haul yet. The path ahead looked clear. Trees stood on both sides like silent guards. The night sky was hidden by thick leaves above them. Then something strange happened. Razor's headlight flickered. Just for a second. He frowned and tapped the light. It came back on, steady again. "My light is acting funny," called out Brother Two, who rode behind him. "Mine too," said another voice. Razor felt something shift in the air. The temperature dropped suddenly. His breath came out in a small cloud, even though Lagos nights were never cold. "Keep moving," he ordered. "We are almost through." But were they? The path seemed longer than he remembered. Much longer. When he had explored it last week, it had taken only 5 minutes to pass through. They had been riding for 10 minutes now, and the trees looked the same. Dense. Dark. Watching. "Boss." Snake's voice was nervous now.
How much further?
"How much further?" "Not far," Razor said. But he was not sure anymore. The headlights flickered again. This time, they all dimmed together, as if something was draining their power. The air grew heavier. It pressed down on them like a thick blanket. The engines began to sputter and cough. "What is wrong with these bikes?" Brother Two shouted. "I just serviced mine yesterday." Razor twisted his throttle harder, but his motorcycle was slowing down. The engine whined like it was struggling against an invisible force. Then he saw the first shadow. It stood at the side of the path, just beyond his headlight's reach. A dark shape, human-sized, but wrong somehow. Too still, too silent.
Do you see that?
"Did you see that?" Razor called out. "See what?"
See
Snake
what?
asked. "There, on the left." They all looked. The shadow was gone, but now there was another one on the right side, and another ahead, and more behind them. The shadows were not moving, but somehow they were getting closer. Brother Two's voice cracked with fear.
Boss,
I do not like this. We should turn back." "Turn back to
Turn
what?"
back to what?
Razor snapped. "The police? Keep going forward." But forward was becoming impossible. The path was growing narrower. The trees seemed to lean in toward them, their branches reaching like fingers. The headlights flickered faster now, on and off, on and off. In those moments of darkness between the flickers, they could hear something. Whispers. Voices that sounded like wind through leaves, but also like words they almost understood. "Give it back," the whispers seemed to say. "Give it back." Snake was the first to panic. He veered his motorcycle to the side, trying to find another way through the trees. There was a loud snap, and he yelled as a low branch knocked him off his bike. The motorcycle tumbled into the bushes. Snake scrambled to his feet, his stolen bag spilling jewelry onto the ground. "Help me!" he cried. "Something grabbed my leg!" But nothing was there, just the darkness and the whispering. Razor stopped his bike and looked back. The other gang members had stopped too. They huddled together, their faces pale with fear. "Pull yourself together," Razor commanded. "There is nothing here but trees and darkness. We are letting our imagination scare us." But even as he said it, he did not believe it. Something was wrong, very wrong. The shadows were everywhere now. They formed a circle around the Iron Wolves. In the flickering light, Razor thought he saw faces in those shadows. The face of Mama Ngozi, blood on her forehead. The face of Brother Emeka, holding his stomach. The faces of all the people they had hurt over the years. "They are not real," Razor muttered. "They are not real." But the faces kept appearing, each one showing pain. Each one showing the moment when the Iron Wolves had taken something precious from them. A young girl who had lost her school bag. An old man who had lost his medicine money. A mother who had lost her baby's milk money. All of them here, all of them watching, all of them waiting. Brother Two dropped his stolen bag and fell to his knees. "I am sorry," he shouted at the shadows. "Please, I am sorry." "Get up, you fool! These are just tricks! Shadows cannot hurt us!" But as he said this, the temperature dropped even further. Their breaths came out in thick white clouds. The whispers grew louder, forming actual words now. "You took from us. You laughed at our tears. You made our children cry. Now the city takes from you." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It was old and young, male and female, angry and sad all at once. It was the voice of Lagos itself. The motorcycle's engines died completely. The headlights went out one by one until only Razor's remained. It flickered weakly, barely pushing back the darkness. In that dim, dying light, the Iron Wolves saw something that made their blood turn cold. The path ahead was no longer a path. It stretched into infinite darkness. Behind them, where they had come from, there was only darkness too. The trees had closed in, forming walls. There was no escape forward, no escape backward. They were trapped. Snake started to cry. "We're going to die here! Lagos is going to kill us for what we did!"
"Nobody is dying,"
Nobody
Razor
is
said,
dying.
but his voice shook. He pulled out his knife. "We fight our way out if we have to." He slashed at the nearest shadow. The knife passed through empty air, but the shadow remained, watching, judging. That was when they started to feel it, a pulling sensation, like invisible hands reaching into their chests and squeezing their hearts. Brother 3 dropped to the ground, gasping, "I cannot breathe! Something is choking me!"
Cannot breathe.
But nothing
Something
was
is
touching
choking
his
me.
throat. The pressure came from inside, from the weight of all the evil they had done. The shadows moved closer. Now the Iron Wolves could see them clearly. These were not just random shapes. These were the people they had robbed. Each shadow carried the memory of a crime. There was the market woman, whose entire life savings they had stolen 3 months ago. Her daughter had died because she could not afford the hospital. There was the old man they had beaten last year. He had never walked properly again. There was the young trader they had mocked and robbed just 2 weeks ago. He had jumped into the lagoon in despair. All of them here. All of them seeking justice. "We are sorry," Snake screamed.
sorry.
"Please, we will
Please.
return everything. We will change."
We will change.
The shadows did not move away. The voices grew stronger. "Too late for sorry. Too late for change. The city has spoken. The city has judged. The city will collect." Razor felt his courage crumbling like old paper. For the first time in his life, he understood what his victims had felt. The helplessness, the fear, the knowledge that something terrible was about to happen, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. The shadows began to move. They flowed like water, surrounding each gang member. When they touched someone, that person screamed and fell. Brother 2 was the first to be swallowed by the shadows. He vanished completely, his cries fading into the whispering darkness. Then Brother 3, then Brother 4. One by one, the Iron Wolves were disappearing. "No!" Razor ran to where his men had been, but there was nothing there. No bodies, no trace, just empty ground and the stolen bags they had dropped. Snake grabbed Razor's arm. "Boss, what do we do? What is happening to them?" Razor did not have an answer. For the first time since forming his gang, he felt powerless. His knife was useless, his strength was useless, his cruelty was useless. The city had turned against them, and the city was stronger than any gang. The remaining headlight on Razor's motorcycle flickered one last time and went out. Complete darkness fell over them like a heavy cloth. In that darkness, they heard footsteps, slow, steady footsteps coming from all directions, not running, not rushing, just walking with patient certainty. "Who is there?" Razor shouted, viving his knife blindly. "Show yourself!" A cold laugh echoed through the darkness. Not one laugh, but many, overlapping like a broken radio trying to find a station. Then a voice spoke, clear and final. "The question is not who. The question is what. What happens to those who take from the innocent? What happens when patience ends?" Light suddenly flooded the path. But it was not natural light. It glowed from the ground itself, a pale blue color that made everything look like a ghost. In this strange light, Razor and Snake could see the others again. Brother 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were standing in a circle, facing outward, but they were not moving. Their eyes were wide open, staring at nothing, their mouths hung open in silent screams. "Brothers!" Snake ran toward them. "Wake up!" He shook Brother 2's shoulder, but the man did not respond. He was like a statue, frozen in fear. Razor checked for a pulse. It was there, slow and weak, but present. They were alive, but trapped in something worse than death. They were trapped in their own guilt. "Look at them closely," the voice commanded. Against his will, Razor looked. In the blue light, he could see something moving under his men's skin, shadows writhing beneath the surface like worms, and on their faces, tears were rolling down, even though their eyes showed no emotion. They see everything they have done, every crime, every hurt, every tear they caused. They will see it forever until they understand the weight of their actions. Snake backed away. No, this is not possible. This is not real." "Is it not?" The voice seemed amused. "You believed yourselves powerful. You believed yourselves untouchable. But power built on fear is fragile. And Lagos remembers everything." The blue light grew brighter, and now Razor could see more clearly what surrounded them. The shadows had taken full form. They were the victims. All of them. Hundreds of people the Iron Wolves had hurt over the years.
Razor's mind reeled. He had not kept count of his victims. He had not cared to remember their faces. But Lagos had remembered. The city had kept a record of every single crime. "What do you want from us?" Razor demanded, trying to sound brave though his voice trembled. "What did you take from them?" the voice asked back. Razor looked at the silent, judging faces surrounding him. He saw Mama Ngozi holding her head where she had been hurt. He saw Brother Emeka clutching his stomach. He saw children crying for their school fees. He saw old people who had lost their medicine money. "Money," Razor whispered. "We took money." "Wrong." The voice was sharp like a whip. "You took peace. You took security. You took dignity. You took hope. You made people afraid to work hard because they knew you would steal from them. You made children go hungry. You made sick people stay sick. You made mothers cry." Each word hit Razor like a punch. For the first time, he truly saw what he had done. Not just theft, not just robbery, but the destruction of lives, dreams, and futures. Snake collapsed to his knees. "Please, please, what must we do to make this stop?" "Justice," the voice said simply. "The balance must be restored." The frozen gang members suddenly moved. They turned as one to face Razor and Snake. Their eyes were still empty, but their hands reached forward, opening to show their palms. On each palm was written a name in that same glowing blue light, the names of their victims. "Read the names, every single one. Remember them, feel their pain." Razor and Snake had no choice. An invisible force pulled them closer to their frozen comrades. The names glowed brighter, forcing them to look. Ngozi Adeloke, Emeka Okonkwo, Amina Muhammad, Chidi Obi, Grace Adeyemi. Name after name after name. As each one was read, Razor and Snake felt something pierce their hearts. It was not a physical pain, but something deeper. They felt the hope that was stolen when Ngozi Adeloke lost her children's school fees. They felt the despair when Emeka Okonkwo could not buy his mother's medicine. They felt the shame when Amina Mohammed had to beg for money to feed her children. Snake vomited from the emotional weight. Razor fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face for the first time since he was a child. "Stop, please stop, I cannot bear it." Could they bear it? The voice asked. Could Mama Ngozi, watching her children drop out of school? Could Brother Emeka bear watching his mother die? You caused this pain without thinking. Now you must feel it. The names continued, hundreds of them, each one a life damaged, each one a future stolen. By the time the last name faded, both Razor and Snake were broken. They lay on the ground, sobbing like babies, finally understanding the full weight of their evil. The blue light began to fade. The frozen gang members collapsed like puppets with cut strings. The voice spoke one final time. "The city has shown you truth. The city has shown you justice. But the city also shows mercy." The shadows of the victims began to fade, their purpose fulfilled. As they disappeared, each one looked at the Iron Wolves one last time, not with hatred, but with something more powerful. Disappointment. "You can leave this path," the voice said, "but you cannot leave unchanged. Every bag you carry is now marked. Every coin you stole now burns. Until you return what you took and make amends for what cannot be returned, you will feel this weight." Suddenly, the stolen bags felt like they were filled with hot coals. Razor and Snake screamed and dropped them. The other gang members stirred, waking from their trance, and immediately grabbed their chests in pain. What happened?" Brother Two gasped. "The city judged us," Razor said quietly, "and found us wanting." The path ahead suddenly cleared. The trees moved back. The darkness lifted slightly, showing the way out. But it was not the same path they had entered. This path was longer, harder, lined with thorns that tore at their clothes. "This is the path of redemption. Long, painful, but possible. Walk it,
or stay here forever, trapped in your guilt. The choice was clear. The Iron Wolves helped each other stand. They left the bags of stolen goods behind, too painful to carry. They walked forward, each step difficult, each meter earned through suffering. Behind them, the stolen goods began to glow with that same blue light. The city would return them to their owners somehow. Lagos takes care of its own. The walk through that path took hours, though it felt like days. Each member of the Iron Wolves was silent, lost in their own thoughts and the heavy weight of what they had experienced. Snake kept seeing the faces of the children whose school fees he had stolen. Brother Two could not stop hearing the cries of the old women he had pushed down. Razor felt the weight of every life he had destroyed pressing on his shoulders like a mountain. As dawn began to break, they finally emerged from the path. They found themselves at the edge of Makoko, far from where they had entered. They had traveled much further than any path should have taken them. Their motorcycles were gone, their stolen goods were gone. All they had was the clothes on their backs and the burning knowledge of their sins. "What do we do now?" Snake asked. His voice was small, like a child's. Razor looked at his hands. They were scratched and bleeding from the thorny path, but for the first time in years, they looked clean to him. The blood he had carried on them, invisible but real, was being washed away. "We do what the city asked," Razor said. "We make amends." The others looked at him in surprise. This was not the cold, cruel Razor they had followed. Something in him had broken in that darkness, and something new had begun to grow. "How?" Brother Two asked. "We have nothing left." "We have our hands. We have our time. We have our lives. We will work, honestly. We will earn money and return what we stole."
It was not easy. The people of Lagos did not trust them. When they tried to find jobs, people recognized them and turned them away. "Why should we hire you?" market traders asked. "So you can steal from us again?" But the Iron Wolves persisted. They took the smallest, hardest jobs. They carried loads for traders. They cleaned gutters. They did work that others refused to do. At night, they slept under bridges. Their bodies ached. Their stomachs were often empty. But something strange was happening. The pain in their chests, that burning weight they had felt since that night, was slowly getting lighter. Mama Ngozi saw them working one day. She recognized Razor carrying cement bags at a construction site. She walked up to him, her face still showing the scar from when she had fallen during the robbery. Razor saw her and immediately fell to his knees. "Mama, I am sorry. I am so sorry for what I did to you." Mama Ngozi studied him for a long moment. She saw the tears in his eyes, real tears, not the fake tears of someone trying to escape punishment. "Why should I forgive you?" she asked. "Because of you, my children lost 2 years of school." "You should not forgive me," Razor said. "I do not deserve it. But I'm trying to become worthy of forgiveness. I have money now." He pulled out a small envelope from his pocket. "It is not enough yet, but it is a start. For your children's school." Mama Ngozi took the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was 3 months' worth of Razor's wages, everything he had earned through his honest work. Word spread slowly through Lagos. The Iron Wolves were changing. They were working hard and returning money to their victims. Some people remained angry, and that was fair. Some people refused to forgive, and that was their right. But others, like Mama Ngozi, began to see that the change was real. Brother Emeka was harder to find. He had moved to a different part of Lagos after the attack. When Snake finally tracked him down, he found Emeka living in a small room, still recovering from his injuries. "I cannot believe you have the nerve to come here," Emeka said when he opened his door. Snake stood in the doorway, holding a bag. "I brought you something. Your watch that Razor took, and money for your pain and suffering." Emeka looked at the watch. It was the one his father had given him before he died. He had thought it was gone forever. "Why?" Emeka asked. "Why are you doing this?" "Because that night, the city showed us what we really were. We were monsters. We are trying to become human again." He handed Emeka the bag and turned to leave. "Wait," Emeka called. "Tell me what happened that night. Everyone heard the rumors, but nobody knows the truth." Snake looked back. "The city judged us, and it was right to do so. That is all you need to know." Months passed, then a year. The Iron Wolves continued their work. They never spoke about that night on the bush path, but it haunted them in good ways. It kept them honest when temptation called. It kept them humble when pride rose. Some of the gang members eventually moved to different cities, trying to start fresh. But Razor and Snake stayed in Lagos. This was where they had sinned, so this was where they would atone.
Razor found work as a security guard at a small market. The traders were nervous at first, but he proved himself trustworthy. He worked extra hours without asking for more pay. He helped elderly traders carry their goods. He became a protector instead of a predator. One evening, as he was locking up the market, he heard a sound. Young boys on motorcycles were parking in the shadows, just like the Iron Wolves used to do. Razor's heart grew cold. He recognized the look in their eyes, the same look he used to have. They were planning to rob the market. He could have let it happen. He could have looked the other way. But the memory of that night, of the blue light and the judging faces, gave him courage.
The young boys listened as Razor told them his story. Not all of it. Some things were too strange to explain, but enough. He told them about the victims. He told them about the weight of guilt. He told them about the long, hard path of redemption. "You have a choice tonight," Razor said. "You can become what I was and face what I faced, or you can walk away and build something honest." The leader of the young boys was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he started his motorcycle and drove away. The others followed, not because they were afraid of Razor, but because something in his words rang true. That night, as Razor walked home, he felt the last piece of weight lift from his chest. The burning pain that had stayed with him since that night was finally gone. He looked up at the Lagos sky, full of stars despite the city lights. "Thank you," he whispered. The city did not answer, but Razor felt its acknowledgement. Lagos had given Razor a second chance, and he had not wasted it. This story spread through Lagos like water finding its level. People told it to their children as a warning and a promise that evil does not go unpunished, a promise that change is always possible. And, on certain nights, when the moon is full and the air grows cold, people say you can still see that old bush path, the trees standing guard, the shadows watching, ready to judge any who would prey on the innocent. Because Lagos remembers. Lagos watches. And when patience ends, Lagos fights back. This is the truth, and this is how the night ended for the Iron Wolves.